Well, one rather delightful aspect of the lovely weather we've been having has been the revival of one of England's oldest leisure activities, punting on the River Thames. And this admirable pastime has just been given a boost by a new book, written privately, published as well, by an Oxford author, Robert Rivington. Mr. Rivington claims to be one of the few people who still remembers how to punt properly, and he says he wrote the book so that others could learn to appreciate the history and the techniques of punting. Maggie Nelson has been with Mr. Rivington, where else but down by the river.
Punting can be a romantic, peaceful, soothing activity, just the thing for a warm summer's day. On the other hand, it can be part of a fierce competitive sport, for there are people who punt not just for pleasure, but to win. Punting hasn't always been a sport. In the 18th century, punts were used for commercial purposes, for ferrying goods and cattle, and for fishing in the shallow waters of the Thames. Then they developed into the pleasure punts and racing punts of today.
Watermen always raced punts. There were punt races at the end of the 18th century, and for a long time at Eton, boys raced punts until they were banned in 1852. But they became used for racing in punts like this after 1880.
So why were they banned at Eton?
Oh, the boys used them for smoking and drinking. It was a pity they were banned because you need a great deal of good watermanship to handle a punt. Boys at Eton think of themselves as great watermen, and I feel they miss not having punts to handle as watermen.
Punt racing is now a local sport, found only on a small part of the Thames, from Wargrave below Reading to Teddington. In punting, the most important thing is posture. The body must be relaxed and upright. Penny Chuter has been punting since the age of 12. She was the ladies' punting champion for 10 years running. There are few women in the sport now, but in Victorian times it was the sport for women. It allowed them to show off their grace, serenity, and their physique. For top-class racing, though, a bit of muscle is required. So is brawn more important than skill?
No, really just the reverse. It's probably, of all the water sports, the most skillful, technically. Mainly because it's what we call an open skill. You can't see the bottom, and so every stroke you're not quite sure what you're going to meet when you push on the pole, in simple terms.
So how long do you think it takes before you become really good at it?
The secret is to learn when you're very young, because you have to learn watermanship. But when people, as most people do now, start when they're about 20, they have inhibitions about balancing the boat and they can't steer. The actual skill isn't so difficult, the technique, it's the steering and the balance.
In double punt racing, perfect timing is needed. The poles must strike the bottom at the same time and at the same angle. As a sport and a leisure activity, punting suffered after the war, as bigger and faster boats took to the rivers, leaving little room for the smaller craft. The sport is now going through a revival, though perhaps too late, for there are few experts who the youngsters can learn from. The revival may be here, but it will need a lot of interest and young blood to ensure that the old tradition of punting on the Thames remains more than just